Hi everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. So today I want to do an interesting topic. As the title says, is hell real? Is there such a thing as hell? Everybody kind of knows the stories and like the pictures of the fire and brimstone and the church, and then people grow up thinking like the church tried to scare me and they told me all these things about like burning in hell and this and that, and I didn't believe it and it was all BS and it's a loving God and that doesn't make any sense and this and that. So I've seen a little bit of and I respect both tendencies. I see how the way the sort of church interpreted that hell doctrine and used it as like a fair and pushing and punishing on people made people move to the opposite side of saying, no, there's no such lower world, there's no such lower state, everybody goes to heaven, I don't believe in hell, that's BS. Which is actually, I learned this through the study of Buddhist and Hindu literature actually, but then I realized it was also in the Christian and Islamic faiths, is actually it's a little bit dangerous because of the laws of karma. There is realms in the universe that are lower than this one. And so like the amount of suffering that happens on the earth plane is pretty heavy, but there's also great amounts of love, right? And there's higher planes than this universe that we live in and perceive that are much more bliss and much less suffering. Well, it's important to note that consciousness wants to experience itself in every possible way and in every possible modality. So just like there's angels, there is demons. And just like there's heavens, there is hell. So you can't throw one out without the other. You can't throw one out and keep the other. This came to me so clearly when I was deep in meditation into the looking at the suffering in our world. And I didn't go fully into the lower planes, but I could see and perceive like there's places a lot worse than this one. And there are realms of creation that in many spiritual texts are called the hell realms. And so whenever there's ideas like this in literature, when people say made up, they think that like, I don't know what they think. They think somebody like conjured this for some kind of idea. But like those ideas come through the planes. Like people figured this stuff out. People perceived this stuff in higher states of consciousness, and then they wrote it down. And then it kind of could become dumbed down through the literature throughout the years and through people interpreting it who haven't seen these states. But the point, even Jesus used to say, like, the gnawing and gnashing of the teeth. And the reason I think it's important to make this is because it's important to know that there are karmic actions to our consequences. And, like, beings who do very dark deeds and things like that could end up in hell realms. Not necessarily eternally, which is sometimes how the Christian doctrine's been interpreted, that you live this one lifetime of this soul and you're either in heaven for eternity or damned for eternity. It's not like that. But you could leave here and go to worse places is what I'm trying to say. More ghostly, more hellish, and more demonic realms. And so it's easy for somebody to be like, I'm not thinking about that, I don't care, that's not true, which is fine, but that doesn't at all change the results of your results. Your results are still gonna be the same whether you ignore them or not. So it really, there's some validity to that. And so I came back to it from a totally different angle and I realized like, wow. And if you ever read, and if you want to get more in depth, if you ever read or listen to on Audible, the Tibetan Book of the Dead, Robert Thurman has a great translation. It kind of takes you through these states from the highest to the lowest, from realms of intense bliss to realms of intense suffering. And so I wanted to make this short, very short video just because it's important for us to understand that the more we're open, like the more we understand that there's an ability for there to be bliss in the universe, that there's an ability to be happy and free, there's also vast suffering. And so like Earth is kind of like a mix of this, right? It's like a great balance. There's tons of love and tons of beauty, and there's also tons and tons of suffering every day. But for me, that understanding does make me conscious of my acts as well. Not in the sense of you're not supposed to be use that to like bind somebody or scare them or something like that, but to be conscious of the things that you do, because they do have far-reaching consequences, because your soul is gonna keep living on, so like it will go places after this one. So I just wanted to share that little insight, that little perspective on what I've kind of seen into in that realm. And I've seen some things that it was like, so I wouldn't say seen, but like had some perceptions into those aren't places that beings really want to go. Not places beings really want to go. Thanks for listening. We will be back on soon.